can show you the nails. Those kids are so pretty. I'm a nail biter, so they're terrible, and I don't have enough toenails usually to paint either. They're not very sturdy, I guess.
But you have butterflies in your stomach before a major race, right?
Yeah, I get really like up and down. I'll get really giddy, and then also really quiet.
That's normal. I guess all of us do that.
Yeah.
Michael, how about yourself? Superstitions? Anything you do? Put your right shoe on first, or something like that?
I think I think the most consistent thing that I do is I usually lay out all my kit, because I've had so many times where I've forgotten shoes or like, didn't bring something, and so I usually lay everything out so it's like this little fake me that I can make sure that I have everything that I'm going to need for the race. So I like to do that the night before, and then try not to forget anything that I lay out. And the other thing I do is I duct tape my nipples. So that is something that seems to work really well, because it's a lot sturdier than just like Band-Aids or something like that, or nip guards or whatever. So just duct tape those suckers up, and then you can dump water or whatever you're going to need. And I think, knowing from the 50K, there's going to be a lot of water on my person tomorrow night. At least that's my plan. So yeah, duct tape.
Wonderful. Duct tape, toenails. Brendan, add to the list.
Well, I think that's a good tip.
Shoot!
The other one is, of course, lube. Got to lube up in these long races. Otherwise, it's a painful experience. So, just I think duct tape, lube. It's a glamour sport, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm glad this is a family show.
Yeah.
There goes my checker.
Yeah.
All right. Craziest ultra running stories.
Look, I've been lost many times. I've fallen down cliffs. I've had to ring my wife, find out where I am. Use Find My Friends on my phone or Google Maps. So yeah, that's mainly trail running. But I've gotten lost in the old road race as well. So I'm pretty navigationally challenged. So hopefully this 5K loop won't pose any problems for me tomorrow. But I guess just getting lost is always a bit of an experience. Even just training around certain cities before events that I've been to, trying to find my way back sometimes is an experience, especially in non-English speaking countries, trying to get directions out of people. But yeah, that's about it. Just always around getting lost. Yeah.
Wonderful. Ellie, craziest ultra running story.
I've kind of dealt with this at the time, so it didn't seem crazy at the time, but there's a 160k or 100-mile race west of the States in California. It's my first time to either. There'd been a few little wobbles, vomiting along the way, which hopefully won't happen this time. But I'd rallied through, and it was probably about, 160k race, probably about 155k at the least that I took the lead. So that's pretty much a sprint finish in the ultra world, right? So you're on a dark trail. I had absolutely, you're just following little flashing markers and looking out for stuff. And then I see these two little reflective things along the trail, and I'm like, they're kind of high and in the middle of the trail, and there's a big lump, and that's a black bear in the middle of the trail. So obviously, I'm trying to go as fast as I can because I've just overtaken a woman, just taken the lead. So we didn't realise it at the time. We shoot it off the trail and apparently chased this bear off the tree and carried on. And
Done like a true ultra runner.
I don't think we'll have that problem over here. I don't think. So.
Unless it's Michael hiding in the bushes.
Yeah.
You're fine. How about yourself, Mike?
I've had a lot, man. I've gotten lost, I've gotten misdirected. I think one of the craziest ones was I got invited to my first 100K in Boston, and I was really new to the scene, and they gave me a really low bib number, and I didn't really know what I was doing, and I did whatever everyone else was doing. So it was a 5K loop like this, and everybody was drinking Gatorade every time they come around, and by the third loop, I was just so sick to my stomach and just started throwing up. And but then I was like, I'm not quitting, like I'm not a quitter, and so I like stuck it out for like 10 and a half, 11 hours, but like I was basically like the last guy on the course, and like they had like this little golf cart and they were following me, and they were like, if he throws up one more time, like he's off this course. And so like my dad was like totally like running interference, like, hey guys, what's going on over there? And then I'd be like, ugh. And then be like, oh, he's fine. And so, but damn it if I didn't finish that race, and then I threw up all the way to the plane, all the way home, and I was like, oh, I don't think I'll ever do one of those again. And now I am part of the Team USA, so, you know, I decided like a lot of us, we have short memories, you know, I remember those first 2 laps that were pretty good, and then, you know, after that, it was terrible, but, yeah, that's probably one of my worst ones.
That's a really good story.
Yeah, great one.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm glad that's never happened to me, because I don't know if I'd come back for more after that. I've never thrown up or had any terrible race time experiences
We should
yet.
talk afterwards.
Yes, exactly.
But I do spend a lot of time in the mountains, and that is interesting. There's no control out there. You kind of just get what you get. Especially when I'm alone, I kind of get myself psyched up. Because you do encounter bears, a lot of those in Canada. So sometimes I feel like I'm racing the wildlife out there.
That's pretty interesting. So, if you could describe ultra running in one word, what would it be? Just one word.
Determination.
Determination. Michael.
Mine's a synonym, persistence.
There you go. Melissa.
I feel patience a lot.
Oh, that's good. Patience.
Stubbornness.
That's a good one.
Perseverance, the 3 P's.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh, that's pretty good. That's all it's all about, right? You got it's mind over matter. And you got to keep saying to yourself, you can do it, you can do it. And then guess what? You'll do it.
Yeah.
So it's true. My craziest ultra story, by the way, was 100 miler in the forest. I don't know if Ellie or Alyssa have done that in Canada, Sulphur Springs.
No.
In the end of May in Ontario. And it was 100 miles running through the night. And I'm not a good night runner, I'm not a good trail runner. I trip on the track. I get a lot of trail. And I'm directional challenged like Brendan is. I mean, I get lost around on a track.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's hard to know which direction you're going.
it's always difficult, yes. So, but yeah, running into the forest, and it's all dark at night, and what happens in that forest is the ghost walkers come out at night. And they've got their robes on and stuff like that, and they've got a little lantern with dead fumes coming out of it and smoke coming out of it, and they're looking for ghosts. And I go like, do I really need to go in there? You know, it's a 20-kilometer loop, I'll be gone for 20 kilometers. You know, we'll just find a body at the end. And at that point, I'm hallucinating quite a bit too, right? What I hallucinate is food usually, and it's chicken wings and fries. I love chicken wings and fries. So that's what keeps me going in these ultra races. So I probably hallucinated for about, I was going for a good 5 hours or something. I was walking, and it seemed like 5 days. And I probably had to shave fries while I was in there. But no, chicken wings and fries all the time. That's what I hallucinate about. And if I know I get to that stage, it means I'm pushing myself. For you, it's puking. For me, it's chicken wings and fries.
Well, the puking's gone away for now, so I've switched up the nutrition, so hopefully it'll be a good deal.
Well, stay away from Alyssa. We don't want her to puke. So.
Yeah.
Family, how big a part? I know Nadine's a big part of your life.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you need someone that can not only put up with your smelly running gear day in, day out, but you know you're gone for big chunks of time for training. You know, we're pretty focused people and tend to be a little bit perfectionist as well. So we have our little idiosyncrasies that we bring, and they're very tolerant. Nadine's very tolerant of those. But you know, she's also wonderfully supportive in the race. You've got Insane, like she's been my crew at all my major events. It's very stressful crewing for an ultra runner, as you know. It involves a lot of logistics and pressures that sometimes we as runners don't really understand. So yeah, she's a wonderful supporter, and I wouldn't be able to do this without her support. So I'm sure everyone else is the same.
Yeah. Alyssa? family a big part of your running lifestyle?
Yeah, definitely. Mhm. My family, my parents and brothers and sisters think it's a little crazy, but they're always supportive. My boyfriend Ryan, I don't want to make him sound silly, but he's my biggest fan for sure, and he's been so supportive and kind of steps back, so lets me do my thing. He used to run a lot more. He doesn't run with me anymore. I don't know why. He's kind of let me have that, but yeah, he's definitely a big support. And has always been there.
Oh, that's pretty good. Jennifer Ward.
Yeah, she's
Do
awesome.
you recognize
man.
that name at all?
Yeah, she's amazing. Yeah, I'm super blessed to have Jennifer and Pearson Grant, boys that are 8 and almost 6, and our new puppy Rosie. So we have a puppy added to the family who's doing her first race next weekend or next week on Thanksgiving. So we're gonna try to win some doggy accolades. So she's been training quite hard in the woods. She's very fit. So we're excited for that, and yeah, I gotta thank all my family, and it includes like the people I work with. I mean, I have a great support system. I still am working full time as an international shipbroker, and my clients are if I'm not out training at lunchtime, they're on the phone saying like, if they catch me in the office, they're like, what are you doing? Shouldn't you be training? And they're like, where are you racing this weekend? And they really work around my dreams, really. I mean, this is my dream, is to be able to compete at the highest level and to represent your country and the various companies that have put trust into you. And I'm really fortunate to have that kind of extended family along with my legitimate family that's willing to put up with me. And I was just telling my dad on the way to the airport, like, do you remember like the first time we did like JFK 50 miler was my first race, and like I remember like just wanting to die at like 30 miles or like 50K, right? And like he was like fumbling with everything. Like I would come in, like I'm sure like you guys are like so dialed now, right? But like, do you remember like the first time like you were like, I need Pop-Tarts and like cotton candy, and they're like, I don't have any of that stuff. And like that was just like, it's a disaster. Now I come in and I'm like, I grab a bottle and whatever I need, and it's like, it takes like 5 seconds, and like I was like, Dad, do you remember like how bad we were? And he's like, yeah, and, like we're so good now. And like it's just like, but they've been willing to put the time in with me, and like I think that all our families, like they made that investment in us, and so like it's cool to see how that kind of support allows you to do these amazing things, and you wouldn't be able to do it without people behind you.
Exactly. Greenwood.
Family are a little ways away, eight time zones away. But no, I mean, they're absolutely super. Like, I've already had, like, coming over from Canada, a few days with them in the UK. I'm sure my mum will even know who you are, Nadine. She knows everyone. She definitely knows you, Mike. She knows, like, oh, so-and-so switch sponsor, what was that about? And, like, all the race results, like, she talks about them as if she's met them all. And she is very excited when she does meet them. So no, having that like interest in what you do and just that support there is absolutely super. And then like Mike was saying, like, it's not just family as in, your actual relations, but definitely in Vancouver where I don't have family there, like my running club. There's more of them getting converted to ultra running as we go along, even though it's not really, it's more of a shorter distance running club. But I've had some super friends like training for this, like long runs came out and were like, I've not run 20 kilometers all year, I've run 20 kilometers, or they're like, I've not run that fast for so long. So having friends that act like a family and that can ultimately get you to the start line and then the finish line of races, because what we see like at these races is one tiny portion of what we do, and it's all the preparation, and you can't do that on your own. So it's the people behind the scenes for sure.
exactly. And when I was doing these races, 24-hour races, my family was my biggest support. And you know how you are when you're ultra running and getting the distance, and you become really annoying and really frustrated easily and stuff like that. And guess what? Family's the only one who can turn to at that time, because they're the ones who will understand you, right? So that's pretty cool. Michael.
Yes.
Injuries. I'm sure some of the people would like to hear how elite athletes, because everyone deals with injuries differently, right? So
Yeah.
How do you deal with something that is a hurdle when you're preparing for a race or something like that?
Yeah, I was lucky for a really long time. I didn't have any, so whenever someone would ask this question, I'd be like, I just don't get hurt. Like, that's easy. That's an easy answer. And then a couple of years ago, I ended up with 5 stress fractures on my pelvis and 5 hernias. So like I kind of got it all done at once. So I was like, I just do everything.
All this time you just didn't know about it?
Yeah, well maybe, I don't know. But the 5th one must have been the one that put me under. So I had to take 4 months off, and like everyone's like, you're done, you know, like you're, like I think a lot of us, you know, there's so many people out there that are very supportive, but then there's so many people out there, and I don't think they mean it in a negative or anything, you know, just anything other than just trying to look out for you. But there's so many people that are so quick to say like, oh, you had a good run, you know, like, you have a job, you have a family, like you have all these responsibilities, you know, like you've done it, you know, it's fine, you know, like you can let it go, you know, and like I just knew that I would be back, like I'm just determined, and I knew like my goal was to make this team and to come back at the level I was at, and I think that drove me to do all the pool runs and all the, you know, staring at the wall in the pool for 4 hours or getting on the treadmill for 6 hours and just, you know, doing everything, going to the rehab. And I think, you know, it's just a testament to what's possible if you're willing to put the time in and just, you know that you can get back to that level. And I think that, you know, everybody gets injured. You know, we've all had injuries, and it's easy to say, okay, like I'm not going to be the runner I was before. I'm going to, you know, dial it back, and I have definitely changed how I run, you know, and maybe drop the miles or kilometers a little bit. But I still am doing the intensity, and I'm still like running the times, and I still want to become a better athlete and set personal bests. And so I think injuries are actually a really good thing in a sense that it gets you to address maybe some things that you weren't doing properly before, and allows you a little time to, you know, realize what's really important, and then refocus, and then, you know, you just, it's one of those things that's going to happen. It's like when what we do is really extreme. I mean, we're pushing our bodies to the absolute limit every time we go out there, and it's not always going to be pretty, and some things are going to, you know, some things happen, and it's really how you deal with it and come back from it. I think that's important. So, you know, I did not love being a pool runner, but I got to go on some amazing hikes with my family and got into cycling even more than I am now. So it allowed me some different venues, and, you know, I know that that if it happens again, then, you know, I'll deal with it and move forward. And I think that the nice thing is that we can show people that, you know, just because you get injured, it doesn't mean it has to be the end. You know, you don't have to stop doing what you love, and it makes me love it and appreciate it that much more.
Melissa, when it's cold and dreary outside in Alberta, what's the motivation to say, get yourself out there and still train hard?
It's tough, especially like transitioning, like minus 20 feels a lot colder than it will in a couple of months. We'll kind of get used to it a little bit. Having people to run with, having a support group and a community is huge. I don't think I would have really done a lot of it in the winter and been as consistent as I am with it without them. You know, they're out there too. Everyone's kind of suffering along with it, which is pretty normal in this sport. So that's a big part of it. You feel better. You really do. it's definitely a mood booster, especially in the winter when the season's so dark. You just getting some fresh air is huge. I'm a big outdoors person anyway, so I get a little cagey in the winter. It's not hard to convince me to get outside usually.
Okay. Ellie, how was winning Comrades different from winning the World Championships?
It was entirely different. I won the World Championships in 2010, and in qualifying for the World Championships in 2010, I did a like trail race in Victoria, BC, Canada, like 10K loops. I was totally clueless, so I just ran around in circles, and then I was like, got to the end, I was like, oh, like, how's 7 hours 36? And he was like, that's pretty good, Ellie, that's good. Okay. So I was very new when I won in 2010. So then going to running Comrades and winning it like 4 years later, there'd been a lot of races and running experience. Obviously winning World Championships was like, at the time, absolutely ridiculous. I like to take the lead late in races. And a good friend had said to me, like, you know, I think you can win the World Championships. And I remember taking the lead at about like 7K to go and just thinking of him and going, I might actually win this. So that was really neat and really amazing. But I won it on my first attempt. Comrades I first went to in 2011, absolutely fell in love with it. Oldest ultra in the world, about 16,000 people every year, point to point, cheering on the way. Like, just the atmosphere is absolutely insane. You say to any South African whether they're running or not Comrades, and they know it. The whole 12 hours is on national TV. So went there in 2011, absolutely loved it. Went there in 2012, came second by 72 seconds. And I thought, okay, that's going to kill me if I never get 73 seconds faster. 2013, I was signed up, I was registered, and 2013 was your stress fractures, right, Mike?
Yeah, brother.
So I decided to join the club as well.
Yeah.
So I did not watch it on the internet. There was no way. So no, I love that event so much. So I always said, and one of the things I say to people when they're injured, like, have a goal. And I said, if I do one race in 2014, it is going to be Comrades. I had a disaster of a race this year. I won. Because I was like, I've gone through so much to get to this start line. And I think because, like I said, the World Championships, I won the first time I was there, whereas Comrades was like, there was a build-up of several years of maybe I could win this, but maybe I won't. That the event sort of began to mean an awful lot more to me. And yeah, just running into a stadium packed with people, like, it is, yeah, it's out of this world. Mike had finished before me, so.
Barely. She was about to chip me.
Oh, there you go.
But the crowd was insane, man.
Yeah.
When she was coming down the street, you could see it on the
So-
teleprompter. I was actually running out to try to say hi. And I saw you as you were coming in.
So yeah, it was a big build up to get to there. So it's, I think races mean different. Obviously, like we were talking before, like representing your country, like also you have to get selected to represent your country. You can't say, I'm going to represent my country. Someone else decides that for you. You can say, I'm going to go and run Comrades because you go on the internet and sign up. So there's definitely that prestige and that real honor of like winning the World Championships was amazing because you're representing your country. Comrades was much more hard fought and sort of like a goal over many years. So to actually get it was pretty good.
Congratulations. That was awesome. Yeah, I remember World Championships, Gibraltar, we all of us stayed on a cruise ship. That was fun.
That was fun. Yeah. Yeah.
Brendan, teacher.
Yes.
Very demanding job, Brendan.
Yeah.
And you also went to school yesterday.
Yeah.
Global school. So how do you balance your work life with your learning life?
Yeah, it's been a bit of a juggle. I'm actually on leave from teaching at the moment, and I'm giving coaching a go. So instead of now coaching being around bratty kids, I'm around bratty adults and trying to get them to stick to their running programs and slow down or don't do so many Ks. You know, it's always a juggle work and our passions, and running ultra. You know, it soaks up a lot of our time. So you know, I just kind of try and keep that balance the best I can. It was probably a little easier when I was a teacher because I had those set hours in the day. And I knew I had to train before and after, and that was basically it. But now I'm a little bit more flexible. I'm spending a bit more time on my feet as well, training people. You know, doing sessions with other runners and things. So yeah, I think I'll go back to teaching next year sometime. So yeah, I look forward to it. Yesterday was a great experience, just seeing how another culture, you know, their schooling is set up, and you know, their uniforms were very, very nice, collared shirts, and the teachers, you know, brought them all out, and we created a bit of a frenzy there when we started handing out the little souvenirs, and that was exciting, watching the kids, you know, just go a bit nuts. So kids are kids all over the world, I guess. Yeah, but yeah, going back to the balance, you obviously have to keep the balance, otherwise things don't feel natural to me. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, last question for the whole panel. I'll start with you, Brendan. Future of ultra running.
The future?
Yeah, where's ultra running headed?
Look, I think, you know, especially in the trail running, ultra running side of things, it's definitely getting a lot more commercial. And I do see it one day becoming, you know, a mainstream sport, if it's not already in certain countries. And I like to think that, you know, it will still hold on to its core values to some degree. And I hope, you know, the future is addressed carefully. So yeah, I think, you know, it's exciting times. We're at a real kind of shift. I only started ultra running, you know, 4 or 5 years ago, and back in those days, it was like you needed to know someone who knew someone to get into a race, and I was by far the youngest competitor there, and now these days it's just you could go to an ultra every weekend. Yeah, so I think there is a definitely boom period. It needs to be carefully managed. Yeah. And that's where, you know, organisations like the IAU and, you know, countries' organisations are really doing their bit to help.
Thanks for the plug there.
No worries.
Alyssa, future of ultra running.
Well, it definitely seems like it's growing and just going to keep getting bigger, but I think there's always going to be respect for the distance and the work that you need to put into it. I mean, myself, I'm very new to the whole scene, obviously. So it's very welcoming, and I hope it stays that way. Yeah, just the trails and things. I hope that more people get out there and enjoy that kind of atmosphere. So you can't get there any other way. A lot of these places, it's an experience that you're not going to be able to get without the work that you put into it to get there. So I hope it's just people continue to appreciate that.
Is it okay? Sure. It's okay. I agree. I mean, I think right now, and even in the last couple of years, it's growing like by leaps and bounds, and it's getting even more and more mainstream, which is, I think, great for the athletes in general because it's bringing more athletes into the sport, so it's increasing the competition level of all the events, and there's younger people coming into it, but also older people, so you have, you know, this really cool thing where you see like a 70-year-old dude like going out and just hammering, and you're like, oh, that could be me in a couple of years, and then you have these young guys who are like, oh, look at that guy, you know, and I think that that's great, and the sense of community, especially now with like social media being so prevalent, like you can all follow each other, and you know, I'll know what Ellie's doing, and Brendan, like I'll see him somewhere, and it kind of inspires you to keep doing what you're doing because, you know, you might not have that sense of, you might not have the ultra runner that lives down the street, but like now we're all so interconnected that you can kind of get a glimpse of what's possible, and I think that, you know, I've had people that are, you know, as young as like 12 or 13 and be like, oh, I saw you at UTMB, or I saw you in, you know, Doha last week, and then it's also, I think, just bringing the world closer together, and that's going to help grow the sport, and then in turn, hopefully we'll have more and more sponsors and organizations that want to be a part of that and are going to be able to partner with us and keep growing it. And then there's also the other side where like events are starting to become like, you know, 100 miles, like a lot of people hadn't done that distance in the past, or 166K, and now you're seeing like 200-mile races start to spring up, just because that's like kind of the next level. And like, it's not just like, you know, you want to go as fast as you can at like 100 miles. Now people are going like 200 miles, and there's going to be 300-mile races soon, you know? And I think that's great. And then you're going to try to figure out like, okay, where do I fall in, or like, how do I want to do this? And there's so many different options. You can do road or trail or mountain or a combination of all those things. Like most of us, like we're, you know, maybe better suited for one thing, but we still love to compete against everybody at all the different things. Like Brendan is probably one of the best trail runners in the world, but he's here mixing it up with the guys that are, you know, some of the guys only really run roads, and he's not afraid to come out and see what happens. And, you know, I might be more suited to run faster on the roads, but I saw Brendan at a lot of trail races this year, and I think that's cool that you can have that kind of crossover now, whereas before maybe you were only like a 24-hour guy or a 100K guy. And I think a lot of people are doing that, and it's great for the athletes, and I think great for the sponsors and the sport in general, and hopefully it's going to continue to grow.
Ellie, you got the last word on the panel?
Yeah, I think like there's lots of discussions that like people like the IAU or even like running groups or races and race directors like need to be having to make sure that the sport goes in a direction that people end up being happy with, right? Like that it's still, like I think people get into ultra running, yes, because like, oh, wouldn't that be crazy to like run 80K or something like that? But also they just have a real passion for like grassroots events and the friendly atmosphere. And so I'm totally for things like prize money and sponsorship and whatever, but we've got to balance that with, well, did most of us come into ultra running for, you know, that everything was all over social media or whatnot, or did we do it because, you know, it was great to hang out in the parking lot afterwards and, you know, have someone's mom was cooking pizza at the finish line, and that was what it was about, rather than huge hyped up events. So I think, yeah, like there needs to be the balance and the discussions carry on. As changes develop, is this still keeping with like the ethos of what ultra running is about? Obviously it is becoming way more popular with lots more events and that kind of stuff. I do think there is a limit, like, because there are people like, I don't want to knock like any sports, like a bit more skill-based sports. So like something like golf, you could not play golf for like 10 years and then you pick up golf clubs and you could be kind of okay, like you were 10 years ago. Ultra running is hard work. If you don't do it for 10 years, you can't go, I'm going to go for an ultra run this weekend. Well, no, you probably might start with 5K. So I think there is the hard work element and the pure, a bit more fitness rather than skill basis of our sport will keep it at a certain point reasonably small. But I think there will be still more of an explosion like there was with marathoning that people can see. I mean, like with social media, you get more exposure for ultras, so people know ultras exist. And then they hear, hey, some person that doesn't look particularly special but works in my office, wait a minute, they ran 50K, so could I. And I think so, I think it will grow. But yeah, as long as conversations are carried on, I think a lot of the companies involved, like sponsors that all of us have, generally most of them are like really responsible companies who also love the sport that we're doing. So as long as it stays in those kind of hands, stuff like even, you know, doping control that some of us had this morning, that those kind of measures to bring more professionalism into the sport can come in, but also just remembering that why do people really start ultra running, and that's the real basis of our sport.
Definitely. I totally agree from this side of the bench too. It's an exciting time to be part of the sport. It's an exciting time to witness the sport grow the way it's been growing right now. I it's a beautiful sport. You can run on trails, you can, like Michael and Brendan, in fact, you can run on road trails and track all in the same race. And you don't get to see that in a lot of races. And you don't get to see this in a lot of races where you have panelists from 4 different countries just hanging out together, and you're all friends as well outside of the running circle. So that's pretty amazing and pretty outstanding. So and we witnessed that at the training run yesterday from the Torch, where we had over 100 runners, and there were, I think, about 15 or 20 different countries out there, and we're all running together as part of the same group. So that's what makes this sport really beautiful. Ladies and gents, I thank you for taking time out for a busy schedule. I know there's opening ceremonies in an hour, and for sitting with me and discussing some of the issues that we're facing in ultra running and some of the fun facts about ultra running as well. So ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Ellie Greenwood, Michael Wardian,